Yeah, now it's
All
recording.
right. Thank you.
And you're not able to see my screen, right?
Yeah, I'm not able to see your screen. Yeah, now I can see your screen.
Yeah. Uh, so in last class we are discussing about OOPS concepts. So OOPS concept is one of the important features of Java. So yeah, OOPS concept is one of the important features of Java. It's object-oriented programming system. So when it comes to Java, everything is considered as a object only. And the superclass for all the classes in Java is object class. So and how the objects will communicate and all those things will be handled in OOPS concepts only. So what is the use of OOPS concepts is it will provide loose coupling, code maintainability, and abstraction, inherency, polymorphism, and all those things. So which will help the developer to maintain the code quality and code and all those things. So the OOPS concepts are basic OOPS concepts are so first is what is an object and what is a class and constructor, and after that it's one another is abstraction, encapsulation, inherency, and polymorphism. So these are the basic features of OOPS concepts in Java. So we are discussing about. So first we discussed about little bit about object. So what is an object? Object is so instance of a class. So what is a class? So these things we are discussing. So, so we are discussing about class. So we are discussing about class. So class will contains basically class will contains so variables and methods. And instructors and methods is of type two types. So we have static methods, non-static methods. So non-static. So these things we have already discussed in yesterday's session. So, so let's see these things as so in example. So and at the same time we discussed about uh, means so these are the four things we the class will contain. So and at the same time we discussed about the naming conventions also. So class name for naming conventions, class name should start as a capital letter. So method name should start as a small letter, and variable name is should start as a the small letter. And class name should be a noun, and method name should be a verb. So these are the restrictions we are having. So what is a constructor? Constructor is same as the name of the class. And so what is the difference between a method and a constructor is constructor name should be the same name as your class. and name should be anything. And constructor won't have any written type, but method is having written type. So it might be an integer float, double or wide. So these are the different things we have already discussed in yesterday's session. So now in today's session, so what is the use of constructors? So if I'm having a class public, open brace and close brace. So what should be the name of the constructor? So it should be public. So this is the constructor name. So the constructor name should be the same as your class name, and it won't have any written type. So it is void. So public void test. So this is about your constructor. So we will discuss deep about the constructors in constructor session. So what is the use of the constructor and when we are going to call the constructor? So constructor is used to construct your class variables. So what are the variables you will have? So in Java, you have 8 types of data types. So integer, float, double, boolean, char, like that. We will have a different types of their data types are there to store different types of data. So if my class is having int I is equal to 10, so f is equal to 25. So here what we are doing is we are passing the values. So if I won't pass anything, so the default value of the integer is 0. The default value of the float is also a 0. So if you are passing like this, and who will initialize these values? So the constructor will initialize the values. So at the time of creating the object. So when the constructor is going to call, when you are creating the object. So how you will create an object for a class? So we'll discuss that also. So again, I am writing one more program. Same thing, public test. So this, and I am having a method m1. So close brace. So and I am having one more method. Assume this is of type integer. So open brace and closing of the closing of a class. So if you look at this, so this is the closing of your class, and this is the closing of your method, and this is the closing of your method. So void means it won't return anything, but here it's an integer means it will return integer value. Something I am returning integer value. So if you compile this code, what will happen? So how to compile this code? So Java the test.java. So if you run this code, what will happen? It will generate test.class. So now I want to run this program. So how to run this program? Test So Java test. So when I run this test c.java, sorry, Java C test.java, then what will happen? So it will compile the code and it will check any compilation issues are there. So if there are no compilation issues, what will it do is it will generate a dot class file. And now when I'm running this Java test, so what will happen? So this file is going to load into your JVM. So what will happen is your JVM will tries to load tested that class file into memory. So and it will load the file successfully. And now it will tries to run the program. So from where the program execution starts. So so from where the program execution starts, if you look into this program. So from where your program execution starts, so your JVM will checks for main method, and main method is void. It won't return anything to the calling method. So it will tries to find for main method, and from there it will tries to execute that program. But if we look into this program from line number 33 to 40, no, in this test class we don't have any main method. And in Java, it's not compulsory that all the classes should have a main method.
Yeah.
So
So
it
yeah.
won't able to execute the class, even though the code is compiled properly, but it won't be able to execute the code because JVM will checks for main method. From the main
Mm-hmm.
method itself, it will knows that we need to execute the statements which are mentioned in between open brace and close brace. So here we don't have any main method. So how to execute this one?
I mean, you're gonna create one more class, and in that class, you're gonna have the main method, and you're
Yeah,
gonna create the object of this class, and then call it.
yeah. So now I'm creating one more class. So same class I'm creating. So say I have created this class. So I am removing this system.out.println. So now how to access a methods. So here I am having some local variables. So variables. So int I. So now how to access this? So if I want to execute this class, so what are the things I need to do is I need to have a main method. So for that sake, I have written one more class and which is containing a main method. So now how to access, if you want to access anything from a class like variables, methods, if it's a static method, non-static method or a block, anything if you want to access from your class means, so you need to create an object for that class. So how you will create the object for that class? So, so the syntax is so class name. So class name and its reference. So CL is equal new class name. So in the same way, I am creating object for this class. S E is equal new ES. So what is this? So this is a nothing but a this is nothing but a constructor. So we have already discussed, right? So what is a constructor? Constructor will have same name as public. So it won't have any written type. So I don't have specified any written type. So whenever you call this, so what will happen? Whenever you encounter a new keyword, so that time this class will get memory and it will be loaded. So whenever you call this new keyword, so what will happen? This is nothing but a constructor. The constructor name should be same as your class name. So what will happen? It will execute this constructor and this class is going to load into your JVM and memory allocation will be done. So memory allocation is going to done. So if you are having integer variable, so 2 bytes of memory is going to allocate. If you are having float variable here, yeah, so 4 bytes of memory is going to allocate. Like that, it will allocate some memory to these variables as well as the methods and all those things. So this is the use of the constructor. Constructor is used to construct your class and it will load the variables and methods and all those things into memory. So that is the advantage of your constructor. So test T is equal to new test. This is nothing but a constructor. So if you look into this, yeah, I will explain about diagrammatically. So I have taken is a student name. So student class I took. So this is the name of the class, and this is the object, and this is a new keyword, and student is a constructor. In the same way, this is the class name. So this is the class name, and T is a reference object. So this is the object of your class. The object name should be anything, but it should be suggest. It should be a meaningful name you should give, and use a keyword. And T is test. Of test is a constructor. So whenever the constructor is called, that time only memory is allocated to your class. And now, if I want to access my class methods, yeah, you can access. So if you say T dot, then it will show all the instant variables and instance methods of your class. So instance variables and instance methods of your class. So these are called instance methods. And what are the variables declared here as instance variables? So if you go to this, so we will have a static and non-static methods. So static, non-static is nothing but instance variables are instance methods. So how your static method will look like, that also we will look into that. So first we will look into these examples once. Now I'm creating one class. Just two class I'm creating, and it won't have any main method. So, open brace, close brace, and now int. Right, is equal to 10. So if I won't use the semicolon, so what will happen? So your tool will compile the code and it will give an error. So with this, it will specify the fix also. So I have declared one variable int. So and next one is put one variable here is equal to 2534. Yeah. And I am writing one method probably white. Yeah, one is the one method and it won't return anything. So first I say system. I'm writing method one. Number. And I'm returning one more method. So public void control. So if you have a methods of with the same name, so what will happens? You will get the compilation error. So you need to change the method name. So I'm giving it to sem2. Now you won't get any compilation issues. So now I am changing this to integer type int. So see now what will happens? So it is asking. So void means no return type. So that's why we don't have any return type here. But when it's changed to integer, so what it is expecting is add a return statement or change it to void. If I change it to void, so you won't get any compilation error because if you are saying it, your method is a void means it won't expect any return type. So if I change to int, so if I change this to int, so it is expecting a return type. So I'm adding a return type. So it has written something. So I am returning 0. And why it took I? Because I is of type integer. That's why it took I. So and the return statement should be the last line of your method. Now, if you look into this, your code is compiled, and now I want to run this code. So how to run? So you won't get any run option because your class don't have any main method. So your JB will try to execute the program from the main method. So for that, I have written one more program which is containing a main method. So here, do we have a constructor here?
Right. No, we don't have a
Yeah,
constructor.
we don't have a constructor. So if you are not providing any constructor, your Java compiler will provide a default constructor. So if you won't provide anything, so your Java compiler will provide a default constructor. So when that is going to execute, so at the time of creating the object. So how to create the object? So class name.
Class name. You put a reference object name
So yeah,
and
reference
root
object
keyword.
name. So T
Yeah.
is for new,
Yeah,
and
and
this is
then the
the name of
constructor.
the constructor. So whenever you are executing this line of code, so your constructor is going to execute and it will allocate some memory to these variables and these methods, instance variables and instance methods. So now I have created an object. So I'm creating an object. So with the name, just and T should be small. So now how? So if you select this and so if I take that, so it will show all the methods. So this is the one variable, this is another variable, and we will come to other methods later. So and another one is M1 and M2. These are our methods, and these two are our variables. So all are instance variables. That's why with the instance is nothing but an object of a class. So with the object, we will able to access those things. So now I want to access M1. So M1. So how to print this? So system dot out dot if you want to print on console, yeah, system dot out dot println. So remove this one. sorry, yeah, here we are having it, right. So now if I run this, so what will happens? Yeah. So if I run this, so method one is executed. So in method one, so what will happen? So the code is going to execute line by line. So when you are running this code, so your JVM goes to main method, and from there it will try to execute this program. So whenever it encounters line number 7, so it will checks for this class, and it will goes to this one, and it will try to access method m1, and it will execute the method m1. And here system.out.println is there, right? So it will print on the console. So now how to access method 2? Just do the hint. And how to access the variables if you want to print the variables?
Same thing as
Same
the
thing.
way you, yep,
Yeah. Dot.
call the method.
Yeah. No, variables. I.
Hmm. Yeah, call the variable.
Yeah. And test2 dot. So why? So here why you are getting the compilation error? Because you need to assign this to something, or else you need to print this value. So, so see now, so first line is this one, m1 is executed, and second line is m2, m2 is executed, and after that it is executing the integer variable, and after that it is executing float value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is about your instance variables and instance methods. Instance methods means, so what is an instance? An object of a class. So these methods and variables are going to initialize whenever you are creating an object for your class.
Yes.
Yeah. And we will have static methods and static variables also. So yeah, that also we will see now. So I'm having one more method. M3. Method. So how to make a method as static? So keep a keyword static. Static. So why we are getting the compilation errors? That we will discuss now later once I have completed this example. And how to make a variable as a static? So int some k is equal to 20. So how to make this variable as a static? Keep a static keyword. Static keyword before that variable. So here k is a variable, and its return type is of int, and it's a static variable. And this variable is a instance variable. So these are instance variables, and this is static variables.
What's the difference between instant and static variable?
Yeah, we'll discuss. Give me a minute.
Okay.
So these two are instance methods. And this is static method. So how to make a method as a static? By keeping a static keyword before that method. And same way, how to make a variable as a static? So we need to keep static keyword before that variable. So what is the use of static? So what is the difference between instance and static methods? So instance methods, so these methods and these variables are going to get memory at the time of creating the instance. So at the time of creating the instance. But static methods and static variables. So static variables and static methods are not related to instance of a class. And instance methods and instance variables have it. So if I'm creating n number of objects, my class to my class, so how to create one more object? So if I'm creating one more object, so here I'm keeping test3. So I have created two objects for this class. So same class, but the object names is different. So here I have created two objects. So if you are creating two objects of a class, then in two copies of instance variables and instance method is going to create. So if we are creating 10 objects for this class, so 10 copies of instance variables and instance methods are going to create. But static variables, so this is a static variable. Static variable and static methods are not related to instance, it's related to class level. So if you create n number of objects also, only one copy of static variables and only one copy of the static methods are going to create. And when you are saying static, so when it's a variable or method, it's not related to the instance, it's related to the class level. So only one copy of the variables and methods are going to create. But when it comes to instance, so instance methods and instance variables are going to get memory at the time of creating the object. So whenever you call new keyword, so you are calling the constructor, that time your instance variables and instance methods are going to load into memory. So if you are creating 10 objects for your class, so 10 replica copies are going to create. So if you see test3 also having same copy. So see, here we have a so same variables, float and two methods. But you won't able to find M1, M2 are there, but M3 you won't able to find. And at the same time, we are declared one more variable. So K, that also we are not able to see because it's not related to instance. So when you are saying static, it's not related to instance. It's related to class. So how to access this? So instance method, sorry, static methods. So with the class name. So what is the class? So if you are creating n number of objects also, class name is same. The reference variable is changing, and the reference variable or reference object, not a variable here. You need to call object. That will store the your instance variables and instance methods copies. So that's why if you are creating 10 objects, so object name is changing every time. So you can't create same object again. So if you create same object for a class, so you will get a compilation error. So duplicate object or local variable. So you need to change it to something other name. So whenever you are creating new object, so those many times your constructor is going to call. Whenever you are calling the constructor, so what will happen? It will create, it will loads the instance variables and instance methods into memory. So So how many times I have called here? So three times I have called the constructor. So three times instance variables and instance methods are going to load into memory. So if you are creating n number of objects, so n number of replicas are going to create. But when it comes to static, so static, how to access the static variables and static methods with the class. So if you look into this, so we are able to see only static methods and static variables. So and sorry, because of this compilation error, it's now I want to access static method. This is easy. If I run this, so see it has executed this thing. So you have any questions till here?
Yeah, no question. Okay.
Yeah. So this is the difference between your static and non-static methods and variables. So if it's
Okay.
non-static methods and non-static variables, then it's called the instance variables and instance methods. If it's a static variable, you will call as a static variable and static method. So how to make a static variable? So before that particular variable, you need to keep static, and before that particular method, you need to keep static. So this is the
Okay.
difference. And static is not related to class. It's related to, sorry, it's not related to object of a class. It's related to class level. So if you want to access static variables and static method, no need to create any object. So with the class name, you will able to call static methods and static variables. So yes, this is about your static and non-static. So now we will discuss about what are the different types of variables available in Java. So different types of variables. So we are having 8 types of variables, but different uh, type of variables means you will have different depending on the situation where you are declaring. Depending on that, we will distinguish the variables. So here it's an integer and float. Here also it's an integer and float. Sorry, it is here also it's an integer only. But this is an instance variables and this is a static variable. So like that we are having a three types of variables are there in Java. So types of variables. So we are having three types of variables. So first is local, and second one is instance, and third one is static variable. So these are the three types of variables available in Java. So we'll look into this one now. Example. So what is the local variable? So variable which is declared inside a method. So again, let's go to one example. So I'm returning. So So local variables is local variables, instance variables, and static variables. So local variables. So I am writing a one class just for, so it will have open brace and close brace. And when you are saying a class, so class will contain variables, methods, constructor, and blocks. So in the methods, we will have a static, non-static. So in the variables also, we will have a static, non-static, and local variables. If it's non-static, it's called instance variables. So now I am declaring one method, one method here. So here this method is not taking any input parameters. So if I'm passing something int a comma int b, so the scope of the variables is, so here I'm having one more method m2, so which is having no parameters. So now here I'm having two methods. One is m1 and another is m2. Both are void, so it won't have any return type. So can I access this variable a variable here in this method? Can I access? No, because the scope of this variable a and b is within this method only, means open brace and close brace. So whatever the variables you have declared for a particular method are not going to access by another method. So these variables, whatever you have declared here, are called local variables. Local variables, and the scope of these variables, is within the method only. Within method only. So whatever the variables you have declared in for a particular method, so if you want to perform some operations, yeah, here only you can able to see p is equal to a plus b. Something you want to write, yeah, you can write here only. So and can we able to access these variables in another method? So within the same class, I'm having two methods. One is m1 method and another is m2 method. So can I able to access these values in m2? So like something int k is equal to a. Can we do that? No, because it is a local variable. So its scope is within the method only. Within the method means the open brace and close brace of the method only. So that is called local variables. And one more thing is you will have a instance variables. So instance variables already we discussed. So again, so instance variables. So here I am declaring something int k is equal to 20, double d is equal to 35. 35. So these are called instance variables and static variables. So static variables. So int I is equal to 20, double R code office code. So if you are not keeping any static means these are called instance variables only. So how to make the instance variables as a static? Keep the static keyword. So for this also you keep a keyword static before the float. So this is called instance variables which are related. So these instances are going to initialize and going to allocate memory whenever you are creating the object. And static variables is not related to the instance of a class, it's related to class level. So at the time of class loading only, so static variables are going to get the memory. And what about these local variables? Variables which are declared inside a method are called local variables. And the scope of the local variables is within the method only. So within the method only. The scope of this method is so within this only. And you can't access local variables outside a method. So outside a method means in another method of the same class. So you can't able to access. But instance variables and static variables can be having a scope of class level. So you can access this variable k in any method. So here you can able to access. Here also you can able to access. Already we are having something em and v and k. We can able to access that variable. So if it's an instance variable or a static variable, the scope of a variable is a class level. You can access these variables anywhere in the within the class. Means anywhere within the class means within the class methods. So this is about different types of variables available in Java. So we will look into this example now. So I have created a class name test t. So now I am declaring some variables. So int I is equal to 20 and w b is equal to 30. Fine. Now I am declaring C. Now you are getting a compilation action because same variables are duplicated. So I need to change the name. So k and something. So now both are instance variables only. Now this is instance variables. So instance variables. And this is also an instance variable. So how to make this instance variables as static? Same way, with the keyword static before this. So these are called static variables. Now I'm writing one method probably. So method means open brace and close brace. So close this. This method will have closed. I'm writing one more method. So we have. And do we have any return type here? No, because it's a void method. If I'm making an integer int, so you will get a compilation error saying that this method requires return string. So you can make some return string. So, but I'm keeping it as void only. So void only. If a method is void, no return type is required. So now I am declaring one variable int a, comma int b. Two variables I have declared. These variables are called local variables. So, so variables which are declared inside a method are called local variables, and the scope of this variable is within this method only. So, int c is equal to a plus b. Now I want to print this value. So how will print sysout? Sysout will print the values on console. So C. Now can I able to access these values here? Int C. So see, you are getting a compilation issue. So look into this, you are getting the compilation issues. So what is it saying? Cannot be resolved variable A. So this is the issues giving. So local variables means the scope of the local variables is within the method where they have declared. So in which method they have declared? In M1. And if you are trying to access those variables in M2, you will get a compilation issues. So we can't able to access local variables in another method. But can we access this instance variables? Yep. So now I am doing I plus G. So why we are getting the issue here? Hello. So
Yes,
if you look into this line number 18, so we are getting a compilation issue. So it's
because
saying,
the I is not static, that's why.
no, no, no. See, it's an instance variable only. So I is an
Yeah,
instance variable only. But see here, so why
yeah.
we are getting is here we are adding integer to double. So the return type will be
Okay.
double. But what you have done
Yeah,
here, C we have declared as an integer. So that's why. So it's saying make CA2 double. So double.
double.
Now your compilation issue will be resolved. So if you are declaring a variable as instance or static variable, you will be able to access those variables within the class. But if you are saying a variable as a local variable, so you can't able to access that variable outside that particular method. So now I want to call these methods. So, and after that, once we complete this, we will discuss about static also. Yeah. Where is our
Sure.
main method? Here is our main method. So now I'm removing this code. Is it fine? Yeah, I'm removing. Now how to access these variables and methods of a class? Means instance variables and instance methods of a class. So the name itself says instance. Instance is nothing but an object of a class. So first create an object for that class. So here, so create an object. Sorry, create an object. So S3. So S3 is equal to new S3. Remove it, and here your object name should starts with naming conventions should start with small letter. So what will happen? This is nothing but a constructor of this is a constructor. So of which class? So this class. So whenever you calling the constructor with a new keyword, memory is going to allocate by JVM. Who will allocate the memory? So your JVM will allocate the memory. And so for what data types, instance variables and instance methods, your JVM will allocate the memory with respect to their data types. So here I is of type integer, and so 4 bytes of memory is going to allocate for this, and double is of type double. So 8 bytes of memory is going to allocate by your, who will allocate the memory? So JVM will allocate the memory. So, yeah.
Okay.
Now how to access? So test that. So see here it will shows all the instance methods and instance variables only. So now I'm accessing this. So now you need to pass some values to this, because if you look into this, so this method is not taking any parameters. So parameters means this is called parameter. So if you look into line number 13, so this is the name of your method yum1, and its return type is void, and its access modifier. So we have 4 types of access modifiers: public, private, protected, default access modifiers are there. We will discuss later. So if you look into this method, so it explains about 4 things. So yum1 is the name, and void is the return type, and public is your access modifier. And these are the parameters. Parameters is nothing but what are the values that method is expecting. So that is called parameters. So if you look into this method, so the method name is m2, and its return type is void, and its access modifier is public. And this method is not taking any input parameters. At the same time, I am writing one more thing, m3. So, and at the same time, I am giving it as int. So now it will expect something. So return C. Sorry, it's a double, right? So make it as double, return C. So if you look into this lines of code, 23 to 26. So your method name is m3, and its return type is double. So that's why you need to have a return statement at the end of your method. So end of your method means, yeah, this is your end of method. So your return statement should be the last line of your method. If can I keep this return statement? Sorry, after the return statement, can I have some lines of code? K is equal to 20. Can I have? No. Here you will get a unreachable block exception. So it will use a compilation error, and your return statement should be the last line of your method. So now this method is expecting 2 parameters. So who will pass this value? The calling method. So who is calling here? So this class is calling this method. So here you need to pass. So what are the types? 2 are 2, comma, 3. So if you look into this, so what we are doing, we are adding this 2 comma 3. So it should return something same. So it has written 5. So if you are declaring a method with some parameters, so here I am having 2 parameters. So who is going to provide these values? A comma B. So the calling method. So who is calling this method? So test1 class is calling. So and here we are creating the object, and we are calling the method mm. So use the control and keep your mouse here, cursor here, and if you click here, this will goes to this method. So here this method is expecting 2 values. At the same time, so if I'm int, my method also expecting int something k. So float, yeah. this method m2 is expecting two values. So one is one integer and another is float. So now I'm printing this value because it's a void. So we are not returning anything, just we are printing. But if having any return type, we need to return some value. So I'm calling m2. So that m2. So what it is expecting? It is expecting two parameters. One is int, another one is float. So it's clearly specified. So first is integer 20 and float. Okay. And this it goes the so m2 it goes to the m2. So in the m2 method, what we are doing, just we are adding the values and we are displaying them. Yeah. So the same thing it has done. So this is out. So and now how to call the static? So class name. So and if I have a static method, same with the class name only, you will be able to call. So how you will call test3 dot. So it will show the static variables because we don't have any static methods. We are only having static variables. So it's showing static variables. So what are the static variables we have in the class 3? So these are the static variables. So now can you call a static? So here we are having two types of, right? So we discussed about variables. So just now, so one is local variable and another is instance variable and static.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we will discuss about static and non-static. So here I am writing one method public static m4 I am taking, and you should have return byte. So byte means it won't return anything. So here I am having a static methods and so these three are non-static and one is static. So can I call static method in a non-static method? So this is static method, and these are instance methods. These three are instance methods. Can you call a static method inside a non-static method? So how to call a method inside another method within the same class? So that we will see now. So let me remove this. So now we'll discuss this topic and after that we'll start the session. Okay. Class. Yes. Oh, I'm creating. So now I'm creating some variables. So same I am copying those variables here. So instance variables and static variables. And after that I'm creating one method public void number openness and closeness. So here I'm printing system.out.println So I'm writing one more method. Control C, B, and jump to M2. So M2. So these are the two instance methods. So these are the two instance methods. How to call a method inside a method, another method? So just call this name. So call this in this method. So if whenever I call method m1, so method m1 internally calls method m2. So like this. So let me create object for this class again. So for time being, I'm removing these lines of code. So I'm going to this main class, and now I'm commenting these things. How to comment? Yeah, this is a way to comment. And now I'm creating an object for this. So new. So this should be the small. T dot m1. So if I run this, so what's the, so it is giving method m1. So if you go to this method m1, so this is the lines of code it is executed. Now I want to call method m1, so m2 inside a method m1. So how to call? Keep this. And here the access modifier should be private. We will discuss later. For timing, let it be public. If you don't want to expose a particular method outside a class, because so then we need to make it as a private access modifier, but time being let it be as a public. So because this method we are not calling from the outside a class, so we are calling a m1 method. M1 is internally calling m2. So that in that situation, if you don't want to expose a method outside a class, then you need to make it as a private, and from another method you need to call that one. So we will discuss that later. Once you are getting some idea, then we will discuss about access modifier. That time we will discuss again these topics. So now if I run this, so what is happening? First it will cause this one, and it will execute this line, and after that it goes to m2, and then it will execute this line. So that is the output. See, first it comes to m1 method. So m1 is going to execute, and after that inside m1 we are calling m2. So that's why it is executing these lines of code. First it will cast the m1 method. So it will give the output of m1. So this is a line from m1, and this is line from m2. So this is a way of calling one method inside another method. So now assume I am having one static method. So public void m is another method. So system dot out dot println of m. So how to make this method as static? So keep static keyword before that method. It's static. So can we able to call this method? So this is static method. These are instance methods. So we can call instance methods inside another instance method. M1 is an instance method. M2 is also an instance method. So we will be able to call one instance method in another instance method. Can we call static method inside an instance method? Yes, we can call static method inside a non-static or instance method. So let me run now. So this will call this lines of, oh, let me close this folder. So How to run this? So create a oh, okay, sorry, main method is closed down. Yeah, how to call this? So I have created object for this and I am calling m1. So m1 internally calls m2 and m2. So let me run this. Yeah, it's executed successfully. So it's executed m1 first, method m1, and after that I have called m2. So it's executed m2, and after that I called static method. So m3. So it's executed this one. So we can call static methods inside a non-static method. So can we call non-static method inside a static method? So m1. So we are getting compilation issues. So we can't call non-static methods inside a static method. So this is static method. Static method. And this is m1 non-static method. It's an instance method. So I'm doing this. So it's a non-static method. So we can't call non-static methods inside a static. But we can call static methods inside a non-static method. So we can call. This is a static method. Yeah. This is non-static method. Can we call a non-static method inside a non-static method? Yeah, we can able to call. But we can't call non-static methods. So non-static method. So assume m2 inside a static method. Same way with respect to the variables also. So we can't call non-static variables inside a static method. So can we call I? So int a is equal to I. So you will get a compilation issue because it's a non-static variable and we can't call non-static variables or non-static methods inside a static method. But in a non-static method or means instance method, we can call static methods and static variables. Yeah, how to call static variable? Int p is equal. So what I am doing here, I am assigning k values to some variable, which is non-static variable. Yeah. So with this example, we understood that within a non-static method, we can call static variables and static methods. Vice versa is not true. From static methods, we can't call non-static methods and non-static variables because static variables, sorry, non-static means instance variables and instance methods are related to object, but static variables and static methods are class level, not instance level. So that is the reason we can't call non-static methods in a static method or non-static variables in a static method. So this is about static and non-static variables and methods and local variables. So tomorrow we will discuss about another topic. And I will share this your videos through YouTube and I will give the URLs. This is fine.